Hey guys, it's Rabbit here, back with another Starcraft Broodwar Remastered cast. Today we have a PvT for you on Neo Sylphid. The Protoss player that I'm featuring is a guy by the name of Ruin. Very solid, young Protoss, up and coming. Always there and thereabouts in sort of the round of 24, round of 16 of the ASL, but constantly improving, and a new player that I wanted to showcase today on the ladder. He is playing against a barcoded Protoss. Unfortunately, I don't know who this is. If you enjoy the game, please do drop a like. And if you have not yet, please do subscribe to the channel. Without any further ado, let's get into the action. So yeah, I had some recent casts where the microphone didn't work. I did not manage to solve the mystery, whether it was some sort of settings related issue or whether I was an absolute numpty and somehow muted my microphone. I have a HyperX quadcast, so if you've ever seen what this microphone looks like, it glows bright red when it's on, so it should be glaringly obvious to anybody who is wondering if it goes off. So a little bit disappointing that those two snow games, or those two snow casts, were muted. At time of recording, I have not yet published them, so I don't know how those videos would have done. But at the end of the day, I actually don't take this all that seriously. I do it because I love Brood War. I do it because I can sit and watch these games on my own, or I can watch them for the first time, commentate them, and share the experience with you guys. And I just choose the latter because I enjoy that. So this game has had an interesting start so far. We see Ruin, who has gone for a Nexus first on Sylphid, which is usually, because it's a flat map, considered to be a little bit riskier than maybe doing it on a, like a polypoid or a fighting spirit. Also, it's a 3-player map, so it's going to be found sooner, as a general rule of thumb, than it would be on a 4-player map. So our Terran player looks like he's just going to prep for a standard factory expand until such time as his SCV discovers this Nexus first, and then we'll see what changes, if any, they make. So something else that I've been thinking about after my return to casting is that, and this might sound weird, I'm not sure, but I think I talk too much. In other words, there is definitely inevitable amounts of dead air in a cast that I don't necessarily have to fill if I don't have anything to say. So a philosophy that I'll be trying going forward is only really worrying about saying anything or commentating when it is actually necessary to do so. So interestingly enough, Ruin has gone for the inverted commas safe Nexus first. What that means is you get the forge and you build a cannon, and that tends to make the life of the Terran who wants to try and bunker rush and all but wreck the Nexus very difficult. So Ruin seems to have done this pretty nicely, and here is the cannon. Cannons apparently kill heaps of Marines without too much of an issue, so it's a good counter. So I think definitely a nice econ boost, getting the Nexus first up without much that the Terran can do about it. His command center is about halfway. Lands his barracks. Isn't going to be under too much sort of Dragoon pressure, but it looks like the counter from our Terran is to go for some early drop harassment. So we're playing the lo-fi, I don't know if it's pronounced lo-fi or lo-fi, but we're playing the beats in the background. Let me know if you're enjoying them. I think that's one of the changes that I've made to my casting between when I took a break and when I came back that I've been very happy with. Just from a viewing point of view, I think it just makes the whole vibe here a bit more laid back, and that's kind of what I'm going for. Is I bring a bit of levity, a little bit of humor. I don't think by any stretch of the imagination that I am an expert at Brood War. I think I have a decent working knowledge of the game, but there are certainly people that cast the game and commentate the game that know a lot more about it than me. There are some who cast it that know less than me, but that's neither here nor there. I don't want to stir up any controversy for the Falcon fans. But I do enjoy just bringing it to you in a way that makes for compelling and entertaining viewing, man. So that's what we're doing. The dropship is inbound. So Silphid's a great map for drops because you've got these back areas here that are very, very difficult to defend. He does have a couple of Dragoons that he's kept in base. So I don't know if that was from his good scouting or just from experience playing this map. He doesn't have any Dragoons that have come to the front of the Terran main to see, hang on, there's no siege tanks. So I guess this is just a general safe strategy that Ruin has gone for, and it looks like it's going to pay off for him because here comes the dropship. Hasn't moved the units yet, so all the vultures get out. They have mines, I'm going to assume. Yep, there we go. So first mine goes down. This is a really good SimCity. I don't know if those vultures could get in there, but he's lost two probes to harassment, which is minimal damage, and also knows now that he's very, very safe in expanding to a third base, because if Terran has rushed drops, then they have a maximum of 1. Now only 2 factories going, which means any sort of early game push is very, very unlikely. So nice mine placement here from the Terran. I mean, you can just look at this trail of blue mines all the way along, but from the road to his base. So if you Ruin, you can't really do anything without observers. I don't see an observer on the map as of yet. So this one that's just popped into the production tab is probably the first one of the game. He does look like he's going to go with the Reaver build, perhaps a slightly delayed version thereof, but certainly there are Reavers in the future of this Terran, and now his plan is just to tidy up the mines, move some goons into position to protect against vulture harassment as he establishes this third. We've dropped some more vultures in the main. This time our goon is one lonely Dragoon, and he does tend to this, but this time probably this vulture got himself 2 kills. Oh, and the mine laying is pretty good as well. The round of goons popping out there was very nicely timed, just as a little bit of luck, and he does have the defensive cannon in the mineral line. So I think drop harassment has probably run its course. He has kept the dropship alive, so you may just continue to do so while you have it. Interestingly enough, this tank is rolling out. Is this going to be a little tank drop? Because that could be quite juicy if he gets that right. So we'll see if he puts the tank in here as well. Looks like that's the plan. So speed is coming in for the shuttle, so it's going to be a delayed speed shuttle Reaver play of some kind, and here it is. So drops the vulture, drops the tank, sieges him up, probably going to lay a few mines here. Very, very nice reactions from Ruin. He pulled, I don't know what the probe's plan was. I'm going to kill you, man. The Reaver has arrived. I don't know. So he does pick the Reaver up with the shuttle, and I don't think this dropship is going to survive. So, look, did force a probe pull. Meanwhile, behind this, Ruin is now setting up for his 4th base, so his macro is really looking quite strong. Got 60 workers as well, so it's predominantly workers, but because it's been an harassment style play from his opponent, that's okay. The big benefit, I think, for the Terran in that game was that he saw the Reaver, so knows exactly what the tech tree is of the Protoss, and can therefore start to make some preparation. So what do we see in terms of adjustments? So we don't see any turrets here. Sorry, I'm just missing a little bit of a skirmish on the middle of the map. Mainly vultures, mines, a couple of tanks as well. Looks like this Terran's decided he wants to push here. Seeing a lot of workers and a lot of bases, he's gone up to a factory count of 6 on 2 bases. So this is a 6-fact push. That Reaver died without getting a single Scarab off. That's really potentially problematic for Ruin. What does he actually have here? He's got 1, 2, 3. He's got a few Dragoons. He needs to move whatever's in his base out of his base. which makes him vulnerable to drops. There's nothing that can block this. What's in that shuttle? A couple of zealots. He's going to rely on some zealot bombs and some drags. Worked nicely there, but now the Wraith is here. So the shuttle is now constantly going to be in danger. And there's 3 Dragoons up here in the Nexus. There's no workers that have been transferred yet, but there's a cannon here and 2 Dragoons to protect this base. And suddenly our Protoss is in all sorts of danger. Moving some pods of Dragoons around to protect against reinforcing units. Vultures that are mainly coming in here. But this Nexus is in big trouble. These tanks are becoming entrenched. Here we go though. He's moving in his Dragoons. The Vultures though getting in between, putting in some good body blocks. The Zealots have waltzed all the way up to these tanks. Nice pathing though. Does kill a couple more there. That actually was, in terms of a trade for the Protoss, much better than what I expected it to be. I think the Terran there probably feeling a little bit aggrieved that didn't go as well as he probably deserved it to. I think he snuck the 6-fact push behind some really good harassment. That's a nice drop, but unfortunately he loses the Reaver, I think. No, he doesn't. The Reaver just took a hit. Oh no, the Wraith's not going to earn his money, and the Marines are still in the game. Some really nice micro here from Rune. He plays at unbelievable speed. 400 APM, which is probably the fastest Protoss that plays at a very high level. I don't know of any other Protoss that plays at 400 APM. Snow is around 250. Rain is around 300. Mini's around 300. So Ruin certainly is one of the faster ones. So where are we in this game? Well, that 6-fact push was actually incredibly well held. I thought for a moment there that this Terran actually had this game. But took the fights here from, I don't know why I can't get to this damn bridge, sorry. Took the fight coming up the bridge here, and from the angle got a couple of decent drags and managed to fend that off brilliantly. And now our Terran sort of licking his wounds a little bit. He's setting up here for his own 3rd base. Flying his dropship around to maybe come in and do some harassment. Yeah, I think that would be very handy, because there's only a couple of goons here. There are cannons that are coming into the mineral line, so it's interesting to see what sort of damage you're going to try and achieve. It's again the tank and 2 vultures approach. So a couple of vultures around here being a little bit annoying. Reaver drops in to do some equalizing, and the vultures decide, perhaps we should get out of dodge. So I don't know what happened to our dropship. There it is, and the observer spots that dropship. If Ruin was watching his mini-map at exactly that moment, then he should know exactly what's coming. So we'll keep an eye on it. My expectation is that the dropship will come in here. He's moved all of the Dragoons that were manning this post out onto the map to try and maybe intercept this pod of vultures. Oh, that mine hit really hurt. And again, whoa, brutal mine hits both times.
Research shows if you bet on sports more than once a week,
Seems to be consolidating some forces here, Ruin. He's almost maxed out, but Terran has about 140 supplies, so a tier 1 push, which is predominantly just gateway units, shouldn't break the Terran if he has his units well spread and good mine placement. So it looks like he's going to try and push this position. There is nice mine placement though, so the Zealots have gone in the front, which is ideally not really what you want. This choke is also quite narrow, so these units are clumping up behind each other. Really not an ideal amount of surface area, but that being said, the tank line is really not all that deep. These tanks are not sieged up and in position as of yet, so it looks like a couple of Zealots have gotten on top. He's got 5 Zealots left in total. The attack is probably only viable while he still has Zealots. He's got 3 left. These 3 Zealots are going to get on top of this back line of tanks. Now he's got 1 Zealot left over. Once the Zealot dies, these goons are probably going to have to get out of here, although there's only 2 tanks. Now there's 3, so I think he stands to lose these Dragoons. Perhaps this is where this moves into that territory of overextension. He could have possibly saved himself 4 or 5 Dragoons. Did get a decent amount of damage. Also managed to set up an expansion behind that attack. I like the expansion pattern. He's kind of gone up and across as opposed to these 2 positions which are toward the Terran. You wouldn't take this position because it's the natural 4th of the Terran, but this one you would potentially contend for, and this one as well. But Ruin's gone for a different strategy. He's gone up and forward, forcing the Terran to move in a straight line. Oh, that's a really nice storm drop. I'm glad we caught that. So forcing the Terran to move in a straight line to attack and amass his whole army, which really gives him a long, protracted warning system. So here's exactly that in illustrations. For the Terran to push, he's got to move across the middle of the map, which gives him, as Protoss, maximum surface area to attack against any incoming attacks. I'm hearing some shooting. Where is it? Okay, so we resume back to our normal position. A couple more drops. The probes that were transferring to that new base think perhaps that's not a good idea. And this was a very nice cutoff from this Terran. He's trying to get a couple of decent drags here. Unfortunately, not going to do that. That's a nice storm, though. So Ruin also seems to fancy this speed shuttle storm drop style play that is a lot of the good Protosses are using. And I've seen a couple of nice storms and storm drops on the mineral line so far. But our Terran has caught up in supply here, and is still very much in contention in this game. Wouldn't be surprised to see him establish a fourth base behind this attack, because behind this strategy from any Protoss is basically just Dragoon Zealot, right? And the equalizer is your deployment of Zealot bombs. Oh no, there goes the High Templar and your High Templar. So High Templar died to mines, and so one of the key things that makes this work is your observer placement, right? And your ability to sweep the mines. Oh, I don't know how that mine doesn't kill those tanks, but they did a lot of damage. So you can see Ruin falls behind in supply there, and it's because the challenges of microing this style are really high. And against 2-1 mech, you can literally see +2 just finished as I selected those units. You know, your life starts to become more and more difficult if you can't get off just really good storms. But once again, going in for an open field fight with unsieged up tanks. You don't really want these Zealots to be fighting the Vultures, but there isn't enough in terms of critical mass here from the Terran, I think, to phase the Protoss units too much. They also have 2-1. Perhaps agreed it doesn't scale as well as the Terran 2-1, but at least keeping parity from an upgrades point of view. So Goliath's tidying up an observer. Another observer in place. As mentioned before, the mines and the ability to sweep mines and to constantly be on top of that is very important from a Protoss perspective to make this speed shuttle gateway style viable. The other thing that makes it viable is at this stage of the game, usually speaking, on a 4-player map, Terran should have, Protoss should have the other main established, and there should be more gateways in that other main so that there are multiple reinforcement points and angles. Ruin does not have this other main. It's not too far away from potentially teeing it up. That's why there's a Vulture here to intercept that. I think I may have missed a drop because those SCVs were either pulled or evacuated. Based on the number here, I think unfortunately I did miss a storm drop there from Ruin. Nicely done. Observer speed has come into play. That's actually very useful. Picking off a few Vultures. This Vulture's still here, seeing that there is no base coming up there in the other main. Ruin is re-establishing that top position that he lost. This Protoss though, this Terran though, is really struggling with his econ, and I think these drops have been very strong contributors to that. I think he's building a command center to establish a base for these unemployed workers, and for the fact that his main is mined out. So he's starting to struggle financially. Ruin's certainly not at this stage struggling financially. He needs to do a worker transfer up to this base, which could come from here or here. This is some idle workers there, so those definitely need to be put to work. And he's got probably around 7 still on this one patch, so you could definitely look at some resaturation. I think a lot of his energy at the moment is probably just going into establishing this base. If he gets this base up and running and established, I think he wins, because there's just not enough econ power. And as we say that, a Reaver drop into the mineral line of the only real other income base of the Terran that's running strong This was nicely done. A very, very good evacuation, though, I might say, because the Terran there only lost 6 workers. He could have stood to lose heaps more. Ruin does drop the Reavers out. Wants to maybe potentially take a fight there. He decides, nah, I'm good. And so they scan and see, oh, you are still here. Damn. And the shuttle's dead. Reaver's dead. It was nice while it lasted. Oh my god. Look at the mines. So many zealots being killed by mines here. That's a storm on top of D-Matrix tanks. I've always wondered what that does to them. It looks like they're still going pretty strong. Some nice storm drops. Difficult to measure exactly how well or unwell those trades are going. And difficult to measure the impact of that Reaver drop. It's expensive. Storm drops are certainly preferable just in terms of the investment side of it. But I think Ruin with his macro and just generally staying on top of base harassment so far in this game, and the fact that our Terran basically has one mining base which is saturated, and this base which is about to get saturated and stormed into oblivion. So that is really, really a telling blow. So as I said, Ruin in terms of his econ harassment on top of things. We're getting good too. We're starting to spot them as they're happening, down to 28 workers, was 45 at a point. So the impact of the econ harassment from our Protoss, very, very strong. And seeing that he's pulling the Terran units in from pillar to post. He does have this mining base too, of course. Very little bit still going on here. But now he could just overwhelm this purely with units. There's 3 tanks here. A couple more units coming in to harass. There are some storms available. That's a nice storm. So tidies up a lot of the reinforcements that have come up from the Terran main rally point. Does pull away and conserve a few units there. I think that's good patience from Ruin. I think he understands that he's on top of this game. But at the same token as Protoss, it is very easy to overextend. So this base is up and running. This base is up and running. This base is nearly mined out, and there's only a couple of units working there. And this is not yet established. I expect that is in the pipeline. A lovely little double shuttle drop here, forcing a full evacuation of this base. Didn't lose too many workers. But I must say, the shuttle style play from Ruin, he certainly does seem to have a good handle on playing this way, and gets out of there before the units are able to reinforce. But using the fact that he's pulling the Terran army around, really, really to his advantage here. So this has been a very good illustration of how to play this way. Making his another pylon here, so not making a gateway as of yet. I think he's probably planned to do that next. He does get this other main, which on Silphid is absolutely critical for this map. So if you're this Terran, where do you go? What do you do? The name of the game is to kill bases, but you really don't have the army. Unfortunately, this game, in terms of keeping an eye on all of the drops, I definitely missed 1 or 2. But I think I caught enough of them to give the viewer an appreciation of the style of play that Ruin's gone for here, and it certainly has proved very effective. I think it's just a matter of time before our Terran player taps out. There we go. A nice 4 shuttle drop. But there's a lot of mines here. It's very much a recall style type defense, but the damage is that you don't kill the High Templars, and it just absolutely wrecks your econ, because all the SCVs that are working here are now gone, and you've still got plenty of ground units patrolling around and potentially jumping on top of other bases that you have going. Surprisingly, he never took this base, but I guess it is in close proximity to the Terran, so it is understandable. I guess it would be applicable if the killing blow was just like one last drop, but it doesn't look like that. It's going to be a big drop here. Lovely storm drop on top of that mass tanks. He's going to tidy up here beautifully, and that was a really excellent game from Ruin. This guy's a solid player. Please keep an eye out for him. There's plenty more of his games that I'm going to be looking for on the channel. It's good to cast the best Protoss players in the world, but it's also really awesome to cast up-and-coming, top talented players. This guy is certainly one of them. He played a very, very good game here. I think holding that push at about the sort of 11-minute mark off of 6 facts was incredibly impressive. That was make or break. From there he transitioned, his macro power really kicked in, his harassment drops was really, really good, and then just exercised his map control and polished it off. If you're still watching, thank you for sticking with me until the end. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and hit that like button so more people get the cast recommended to them. And until next time, I will see you soon. Take it easy.